The massive arena on Velcro Prime shook with noise. Thousands of alien voices shouted, laughed, and mocked. Giant screens showed the center stage from every angle. Bright lights flashed. The smell of sweat and metal filled the air. This was the Trial of Bloodlines, a famous fight event where powerful alien families showed their best warriors. In the center of the arena stood Rhea, a human girl from Earth, small, thin, wearing a simple black combat suit with no family symbols. No weapons, no armor. The crowd booed loudly. "Look at her," one alien shouted. "She's just a human." "Weak and slow," yelled another. From the VIP balcony, Prince Kael of the Dravak bloodline laughed. Kael was tall and strong, with red skin and golden armor. His body had muscle from years of training. His family was feared across the galaxy. The Dravaks ruled through power and fear. Kael lifted a golden sword and pointed at Rhea. "Belong here," Kael shouted for everyone to hear. "A nobody from a dying planet. This will be quick." The crowd laughed. Cameras zoomed on Kael's face, showing his evil grin. Rhea stood still. She didn't smile. She didn't speak. Her eyes stayed locked on Kael. Her heart beat slow and steady. The arena announcer's voice echoed across the field. "Ladies and gentlemen, today we witness history. Prince Kael, champion of the Dravak bloodline, versus Rhea, human, with no title, no lineage, no future." More laughter. Kael jumped down from the balcony, landing with a heavy thud. Dust rose around him. The ground cracked under his feet. "Are you ready to cry, little Earth girl?" Kael teased. Rhea stayed silent. Kael's eyes narrowed. "Fine, I'll make it quick." The arena lights turned red. A loud horn blasted. The fight had begun. Kael charged at her with full speed, his sword aimed straight for her chest. His steps were like thunder, each move powerful and fast. The crowd cheered. Everyone expected Rhea to run, or scream, or die, but she didn't move. She waited closer, closer. Just as Kael swung his sword, Rhea shifted her foot, leaned sideways, and dodged like a shadow. Missed by inches. Before he could understand what happened, Rhea's fist slammed into his stomach. The sound was like a bomb exploding. Kael's golden armor bent inward like soft metal. The force lifted him off the ground. His eyes went wide. Shock. Silence fell over the arena. Then Rhea twisted her body and delivered a second hit, straight to Kael's jaw. Kael's head snapped back. His sword flew from his hand. His body crashed into the arena wall with a loud crack. Dust filled the air. The big screens replayed the moment again and again. Slow motion showed her small fist breaking his armor. The Dravak soldiers on the sidelines stood frozen. The crowd silent. No one laughed now. Kael lay motionless, unconscious, his mouth bleeding. His helmet rolled across the ground like a broken toy. Rhea stood in the center of the arena, breathing slow and calm, like nothing happened. The announcer didn't speak. His microphone fell from his hand. From the VIP balcony, Lord Drex, Kael's older brother and leader of the Dravak bloodline, stood up quickly. His face turned dark with rage. This is not possible," Drex whispered. Beside him, alien nobles stared in shock. She beat him with 2 hits," one whispered. A small alien child tugged his father's sleeve. "Daddy, is she a monster?" Drex's fists tightened. His eyes locked on Rhea. "This insult will not go unpunished," he growled. Meanwhile, down in the arena, a single voice broke the silence. It came from an old alien warrior sitting in the back rows. He smiled and said softly, "Looks like Earth still remembers how to fight." Rhea turned and walked away from Kael's broken body, not saying a word, her eyes calm, her face cold, but deep inside, she knew this was only the beginning. This small victory had just started a war. The news of Prince Kael's defeat spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On every planet, on every space station, giant holoscreens showed the same scene again and again. A small human girl from Earth defeating the Dravak bloodline heir with 2 strikes. Memes, jokes, and reaction videos flooded the spacenet. Alien comedians laughed about it on live shows. Military forums analyzed the fight in slow motion, but inside the dark throne room of the Dravak fortress, no one was laughing. Lord Drex, Kael's older brother, stood alone near the war table. The air smelled of smoke and steel. His eyes burned with anger. Kael lay in a medical pod nearby, still unconscious. Doctors worked around the clock, but nothing helped. Kael's bones were shattered, his pride even more broken. "How could this happen?" Drex growled. His war generals stood around him, silent and scared. One of them, General Vosk, finally spoke. She fights like no human we've seen, my lord. Fast, precise, deadly." Drex slammed his fist on the table, making the holographic map flicker. I don't care how she fights. She humiliated my brother in front of the entire galaxy. Another general stepped forward. The people, they're calling her the Bloodbreaker. The room went silent. Drex's face twisted in rage. That title belongs to my family, not to some worthless human girl. Drex turned towards his guards. Send out the bounty call. I want her dead. A soldier saluted. Yes, my lord. How much should we offer? Drex smiled darkly. 1,000,000 credits. For her head, the generals gasped. That was a huge amount. Enough to make every bounty hunter, assassin, and killer in the galaxy hunt for Raya. Somewhere on a dusty moon, Raya sat alone inside a small rented room. The walls were cracked. The air smelled old. She had no friends, no family, no allies. Her only companion was a small, damaged combat drone she called Patch. Patch floated beside her, its lights blinking weakly. Warning, galactic bounty alert. Price on your head, 1,000,000 credits, the drone's voice said. Raya stared at the screen. Her face stayed calm, but her hands tightened into fists. She looked outside the window. The stars above seemed colder than ever. She whispered to herself, so, this is how they respond. She thought of her childhood, how the people of Earth never respected fighters like her, how she trained in secret, how she survived being bullied, mocked, ignored. And now her own planet was silent, afraid, leaving her alone. Her communicator beeped again. Incoming transmission, unknown source. The voice was soft but serious. You've made powerful enemies, Raya. If you want to stay alive, meet me at Outpost 13, midnight. The message ended. Raya stared at the device. Outpost 13, a dead space station, abandoned for years. She had two choices. Run and hide, or face them all. Her eyes narrowed. I never run. She packed her small bag, checked her knife, tightened her gloves. But just as she opened the door, boom, the wall beside her exploded. Smoke filled the room. Metal shards flew everywhere. From the dust, 3 bounty hunters appeared, all different species, all armed, all grinning. Easy money. One of them laughed. Raya didn't wait. In one smooth move, she flipped over the table, kicked the first hunter in the neck, grabbed a broken pipe from the floor, and stabbed the second hunter's leg. The third bounty hunter aimed his blaster at her. Before he could pull the trigger, Raya grabbed her drone Patch, swung it like a hammer, and smashed it into his face. Blood sprayed on the walls. Seconds later, all 3 bounty hunters lay on the floor, unconscious, or worse. Raya stood in the middle, breathing hard, but still standing. Her shoulder was bleeding, her ribs hurt, but she didn't care. She wiped the blood from her face and whispered, Outpost 13, it is. She grabbed a stolen blaster from one of the hunters, walked out of the room, and disappeared into the night. Meanwhile, at the Dravik fortress, Lord Drex watched the bounty hunters' live helmet feed. He saw how easily Raya defeated them. His face turned pale with shock, then red with fury. This isn't possible, he shouted. Behind him, a shadow moved. An old masked figure stepped out from the dark corner of the room. My Lord Drex, the figure said softly. I warned you, humans from Earth. They're not what they seem. Drex turned. Who are you? The masked figure didn't answer. Instead, he dropped a small data chip on Drex's table. On the chip was a single name, Varric. Drex's eyes widened. No, he's dead. Long ago. The figure smiled from under the mask. Looks like he's training again, on a stolen ship. Raya flew toward Outpost 13. Her eyes stayed focused, her heart cold like steel. She whispered to herself, this time, I end this, and far away. Her old teacher waited for her return. Inside the Dravik war chamber, alarms flashed red. Dozens of alien officers rushed across the control floor. The room was filled with shouting voices, tactical maps, and emergency signals. Lord Drex, the new head of the Dravik bloodline, stood at the center of it all. His golden armor gleamed under the war lights, but his eyes showed only rage. Kale still lay unconscious in the medical bay. His younger brother, the pride of the Draviks, defeated by a human girl. Drex's pride burned. His generals stood nearby, nervous and silent. Report, Drex shouted. General Vosk stepped forward. My lord, our bounty hunters failed. Surveillance drones tracked her ship. She's heading toward Outpost 13. Drex's face darkened. Outpost 13. Why there? A young officer hesitated, then spoke carefully. My lord, our intelligence as a human, codenamed Varric, may be hiding there. Drex's eyes widened. Varric, that ghost. He should have died years ago. Vosk nodded. Some say he survived. Trained in the old ways, teaching humans things we buried long ago. Drex's fists tightened. This ends now. He turned toward the war table. Mobilize the Shadow Fleet, Drex ordered. Send 2 destroyers and 4 hunter squads. Surround Outpost 13. I want Rhea captured or dead. And if Varric shows his face, burn the station to ash. The generals saluted and rushed to execute the command. Meanwhile, on board Rhea's stolen ship, Rhea sat in the pilot seat. Her eyes stayed on the navigation screen. The stars outside moved fast as the ship entered lightspeed. Patch, a small damaged combat drone, floated beside her. Warning, multiple enemy ships detected. Dravak Shadow Fleet is moving. Destination, Outpost 13. Rhea's jaw tightened. They're coming for me. And for him, her mind went back. Years ago, when she was younger, lost, afraid, when Varric found her. Flashback. Years ago at Desert Mona, teenage Rhea stood in the middle of a sandstorm, bruised and hungry. Her small fists were bleeding from punching rocks. A tall human man, wearing black battle armor, stood in front of her. His voice was calm but strong. You want to survive? He asked. Rhea nodded. Then forget fear, forget mercy, hit faster, hit harder, think like your enemy, but strike like yourself. That man was Varric. The legend, the exile, the warrior nobody talked about back in the present. Rhea opened the ship's weapons locker. She checked the blaster rifle, the plasma knife, and the EMP grenades. She whispered to herself, I won't run. Not this time. Her ship dropped out of lightspeed ahead. Outpost 13 floated in space, dark, cold, broken. Old antennas dangled. Walls full of scars from old battles, but deep inside, Varric waited. Inside Outpost 13, Varric sat in a control room, looking at old monitors. His hair was gray now, but his body stayed strong. He watched the incoming enemy fleet on radar screens. 6 Dravak ships, closing fast. He smiled. So, they've sent the Shadow Fleet. For one girl, he pressed a button. All around the station, hidden defense turrets woke up. Cannons charged. Mines armed. Varric stood up, grabbing his pulse rifle. This will be fun, he whispered. In space, the Dravak fleet approached on the lead destroyer. A young Dravak captain shouted commands. Launch boarding pods. Target the human ship and the station. Hundreds of small attack pods launched, speeding toward Rhea's ship and Outpost 13. Inside one of the pods, elite Dravak soldiers prepared for battle. One of them laughed. It's just one girl and an old man. Easy kill. Another soldier loaded his plasma launcher. Yeah, let's crush them. But none of them knew who they were about to face. The battle begins as the first wave of enemy pods reached Outpost 13. Boom. Hidden mines exploded. Turrets fired laser beams, cutting through Dravak ships. Inside the station, Varric moved like a shadow, taking out squads of invaders one by one. His pulse rifle never missed. His knife moved faster than eyes could follow. At the same time, in space, Rhea's stolen ship flipped and rolled between enemy fire. She launched EMP grenades, disabling to Dravak fighters. Her small ship was fast, too fast for enemy targeting systems. She shot down 3 attack pods, then landed hard inside one of the docking bays at Outpost 13. The moment her ship touched down, Rhea jumped out, blaster ready. She ran through the corridors, taking down enemy soldiers. Her moves were fast, sharp, brutal. Every punch, every shot was calculated and deadly. She reached the command center. Varric stood there, loading fresh ammo. The two stared at each other after years. Varric smiled a little. You're late, Rhea smirked. You're old, both laughed. But only for a second. Varric pointed at the main screen. More enemy ships appeared on the radar. This was just the first wave, he said. Rhea's face turned serious. Let them come. Varric handed her a heavy plasma rifle. Let's finish what we started. Meanwhile, on the Dravak destroyer, Lord Drex watched the live battle feed. His face turned red with rage as he saw his soldiers fall. Enough, he shouted. Prepare my personal cruiser. I'm going there myself. A worried officer spoke. My lord, it's dangerous. Drex lifted the officer with one hand and crushed his throat. I don't care. That girl dies by my hands. Drex cruiser launched from the destroyer, speeding toward Outpost 13. Back on the station, Rhea stood beside Varric. Explosions shook the walls. Enemy soldiers kept pouring in, but Rhea's eyes burned with fire. She whispered, if he's coming here, I'll be waiting. Her next fight was against Lord Drex himself, and this time, she wouldn't miss. Outpost 13 shook with another explosion. Dust fell from the ceiling. Old metal walls cracked. Alarm sirens screamed across the station. Inside the main control room, Raya stood next to Varric. Both loaded their weapons. The old warrior glanced at her. You've grown stronger, Varric said. Raya smirked. You've gotten slower. They both laughed, but only for a second. The next wave of Dravik soldiers was already on the way. Outside in space, Lord Drex's personal cruiser sped toward the station. Inside, Drex sat in his war seat, staring at the holographic map. His armor was darker today, more deadly. His gauntlets powered by plasma energy, his eyes full of pure hate. She broke Kale's legacy, Drex whispered. Now I'll break her. His ship breached the station's outer hull. Dozens of elite Dravik soldiers poured inside, following him like shadows. Inside the station, past memories wake up. Raya and Varric moved through the old corridors, setting traps and laying charges. Raya asked quietly, why did you disappear, Varric? After training me, after teaching me everything, you vanished. Varric kept walking, checking corners for enemies. I had enemies, bigger than the Dravax. I needed to hide, and I knew you weren't ready. Raya frowned. Ready for what? Varric stopped near an old sealed door. He placed his hand on the rusted panel. For this, he said. The door opened, revealing a hidden armory. Inside, old human war tech, forbidden weapons, battlesuits from Earth's forgotten wars. Varric picked up a long plasma spear. This station was once a training base for human black ops. I saved what I could. Raya's eyes widened. She picked up a pair of twin plasma blades, feeling their weight. These are beautiful. Varric nodded. They're yours now. Meanwhile, the enemy closes in Dravak soldiers spread through the station. Drex walked slowly behind them, calm and cruel. His voice echoed in the comp. Find her, corner her. I want her alive. Barely. The soldiers split into teams. Some searched the maintenance tunnels, others entered the engineering bays, but none of them knew. Raya and Varric were waiting. The ambush. Raya stood at the end of a long corridor, breathing slow and steady. As the first group of Dravik soldiers charged at her, she exploded forward. Twin plasma blades flashed like blue lightning. In seconds, 5 soldiers fell. Another group came from the side, but Varric dropped from a ceiling vent, landing behind them. His plasma spear pierced 2 enemies at once. Raya and Varric moved like shadows, fast, precise, deadly. Dravik bodies fell one after another, the corridors filled with smoke and blood. Still, more soldiers kept coming. Face to face, Raya versus Drexfin. Drex entered the main hallway. His soldiers stepped back, giving him space. He stared at Raya, his red eyes full of hate. You embarrassed my family. In front of the galaxy, Drex growled. Raya lifted her blades. Your family started this. Drex's armor glowed as plasma energy charged inside his gauntlets. You'll regret every second of this day, he said. Then, he attacked. Drex moved fast for his size, smashing walls, breaking floors, firing plasma blasts. Raya dodged, rolled, and struck back with both blades. Their fight shook the entire station. Varric stayed back, watching carefully. He knew this was Raya's fight. Metal clashed. Sparks flew. Raya's blades sliced across Drex's arm, burning deep. But Drex caught her midair, slamming her hard into a wall. Pain shot through her back, but she pushed through. She flipped, kicked Drex in the face, and sent him stumbling backward for a second. Both stood, breathing hard, staring at each other. Drex wiped the blood from his mouth. You're strong, he said, but not enough. He charged again. Varric joins the fight as Drex raised his fist for a final strike. Varric suddenly appeared behind him. With full force, Varric drove his plasma spear into Drex's back. Drex roared in pain, turning to punch Varric away. The old warrior crashed into a pillar, but smiled. I taught her well, Varric coughed. Raya didn't waste the opening with both blades. She launched at Drex's exposed chest, and struck deep. Drex fell too. His knees. His armor cracked, his power gauntlets overloaded. Sparks flew everywhere. He looked up at Raya, eyes full of hate, but also fear. You, little Earth rat, Drex whispered. Raya stood over him. This is for Kale, for your family's crimes, for every human you hurt. With one final strike, she knocked Drex unconscious. Aftermath. The remaining Dravik soldiers saw their leader fall, and ran. Escape pods launched. Outpost 13 fell silent again. Raya stood in the middle of the broken hallway, blood on her hands, breathing hard. Varric limped toward her, holding his side. You did good, he said. Raya smiled weakly, but inside, she knew this wasn't over. Ending hook. Varric checked the radar one last time. His face turned serious. More ships, coming, fast, and these aren't Dravik. Raya's smile faded. Who now? She asked. Varric's voice turned cold. The Council of 9, and they're bringing their entire fleet. Raya gripped her blades tighter. Her next fight would decide the fate of Earth itself. The smoke over Earth's skies finally cleared. For the first time in days, the sun shined over the ruined cities, broken buildings, burned streets, but also hope. Human survivors started stepping out of bunkers and shelters. Children looked at the sky with wide eyes. Soldiers stood in lines, saluting. And in the center of it all stood Raya. Her clothes torn, her blades covered in dry blood, her body bruised and tired, but her eyes full of fire. The aftermath inside Earth's command center. World leaders gathered. The president of Earth stepped forward. "We owe you everything," she said to Raya. Raya stayed silent. She didn't fight for medals or speeches. She fought because someone had to. On every screen across the planet, people watched her, the girl who once had no allies. The fighter they once laughed at now. She was Earth's hero. Back at Outpost 13, a few days later, Raya returned to Outpost 13 with Varric. The station was still damaged. Bullet holes, burn marks. But it felt like home. Varric stood beside her looking at star charts. "The council is quiet, for now," he said. Raya nodded. "But they'll come back," she whispered. Varric smiled faintly. "Yes, and when they do, they'll find Earth ready." He handed her a small device. "What's this?" Raya asked. Varric answered. "Coordinates. To old allies. Fighters like you. People who hate the council as much as we do." Raya looked at the stars. The fight wasn't over, but now she had an army to build across the galaxy in the deep cold of space. Inside a secret council chamber, the remaining council lords stood around a large table. Warlord Zelkar's death had shaken them all. Their voices stayed low, their faces hidden in shadows. One of them spoke. "She's more dangerous than we thought." Another said, "She fights like him." The room fell silent. Then an old council member whispered one name, Varric. Eyes turned toward the far end of the room, where a new figure entered. Tall, masked, wrapped in dark armor. Nobody knew his name, but all feared him. He was known only as the Collector. His mission: hunt down Raya, destroy Earth, and erase the Bloodbreaker legacy forever. Final scene. Raya's new mission back at Outpost 13. Raya geared up, twin blades on her back, plasma gauntlets on her arms. New armor fitted tight. Her small drone patch floated beside her. Fully repaired. Varric stood at the airlock, watching her with pride. "Are you going?" he asked. Raya smiled. "To find others, to build something bigger, and to make sure." She paused. "No one laughs at Earth again." Her ship engines roared to life as she launched into space. Her voice echoed in the comms. "This is Raya the Bloodbreaker, signing off." For now, her ship vanished into the stars. High above Earth, a giant shadow moved across space. The Council of Nine's flagship, named Eclipse Dominion, hovered in low orbit. It was the largest warship Earth had ever seen, miles long, covered in dark armor brimming with planet weapons. Inside the ship, in the throne chamber, sat Warlord Zelkar, supreme commander of the Council's armies. His skin was gray like stone. His eyes glowed like cold stars. Around him stood 8 other Council lords, silent, ancient, watching. Spoke in a slow, heavy voice. "First Kale fell, then Drex. Now a single human girl challenges us all." He stood from his throne. The floor shook under his weight. "Prepare my drop pod," Zelkar ordered. "I will end this myself." On Earth, the calm before the storming the ruins of New Geneva, human soldiers dragged wounded to safety. Makeshift hospitals filled with injured fighters. Smoke covered the city. But amidst the dust stood Raya. Her clothes torn. Her face bruised, but her spirit stronger than ever. She wore Drex's stolen plasma gauntlets on her arms, her own blades still strapped to her back. Beside her, Varric arrived in a small scout shuttle. He stepped out, coughing from the dust. "You're still standing," he said. Raya smiled slightly. "Barely." Varric tossed her a small energy cell. "For your gauntlets. Full power mode." Before Raya could speak, the sky changed color. Everyone froze. Clouds twisted. The air pressure dropped. A massive burning drop pod fell from space. Like a falling star, it slammed into the ground outside the city. The ground cracked for miles from the crater. A single figure rose. Warlord Zelkar. Warlord Zelkar enters the battlefield. Shelkar walked slowly toward the city. His body was wrapped in heavy battle armor. His hands glowed with dark energy. Every step he took, the ground trembled. Small rocks floated in the air around him. Human soldiers aimed their weapons, but none fired. They knew normal bullets wouldn't work on this monster. Varric stood beside Raya, his voice serious. "This is beyond anything You've faced. Raya nodded. I know. Varric looked at her. You don't have to do this alone. Raya smiled faintly. I started this fight. I'll finish it. Varric handed her a small device. What's this? She asked. An old failsafe, Varric said. If things go wrong, press it. Before she could ask more, Zelka roared. The sound shattered nearby windows with terrifying speed. Zelka charged toward the city. The final duel, Raya versus Zelka. Raya ran forward to meet him. Her gauntlets charged to full power, her blades lit up. The two forces collided with earth-shaking impact. Zelka's fists glowed with dark matter energy. Raya dodged, blocked, and counterattacked. Her punches burned through his armor. Her blades sliced across his side. But Zelka's power was overwhelming. One hit from him sent her flying through a building. She stood up, blood dripping from her mouth, but she didn't stop. She charged again. Zelka lifted a massive piece of concrete and threw it at her. Raya ducked and slid under it, stabbing both blades into his leg. Zelka screamed in rage. Varric joins the fight. Varric couldn't stay back anymore. He grabbed a heavy railgun from a fallen soldier, took aim, and fired straight at Zelka's back. The shot hit. Zelka stumbled for a moment, just enough time for Raya to leap onto his shoulders and stab both her blades deep into his chest. Electricity surged through his body, but still Zelka didn't fall. With pure brute strength, he grabbed Raya and threw her across the battlefield. She crashed into a pile of rubble, breathing hard, vision blurry, the failsafe from her pocket. Raya pulled out the small device Varric had given her. Her fingers trembled. Zelka walked toward her slowly, like death itself. Varric shouted from a distance. Now, press it now, without hesitation. Raya pressed the button. For a second, nothing happened. Then, from deep underground, something rumbled. Old human orbital cannons. Buried long ago. Powered up for the first time in decades. Target lock. Warlord Zelka. 5 giant plasma beams fired from hidden platforms around the planet. Each beam struck Zelka from different angles. The entire battlefield turned white with light. The explosion shook the ground for miles. Council warships above Earth paused. Everyone, human and alien, watched in shock when the smoke cleared. Zelka stood. Barely his armor melted, his body burnt, but still alive, but now weak, vulnerable. Raya pulled herself to her feet, and with one final scream, she charged and struck him down, her blades cutting deep, ending the nightmare. Zelka's body collapsed, lifeless. The council retreats in space. Council commanders saw their supreme leader fall. Fear spread. Orders were given. Council fleets turned, retreated, jumped to lightspeed. Earth was saved. For now. Raya, the symbol of resistance. As the dust settled, human soldiers gathered around Raya. They cheered. Some cried. Some called her the shield of Earth. Varric walked up beside her. You changed everything, he said. Raya wiped blood from her lip. I'm just getting started. Her eyes turned toward the stars. She knew the council would regroup. New enemies would come. But now, humanity had a symbol, a fighter, who stood when everyone else fell. Raya, the blood breaker, and now, the defender of Earth. High above Earth, the stars disappeared behind dark clouds of metal. Hundreds of massive warships floated in orbit. The Council of 9 fleet had arrived. These were not bounty hunters, not soldiers. These were planet destroyers, led by the ancient, alien rulers who controlled the galaxy from the shadows. For centuries, the Council watched from afar, but now, after Drex's defeat, after Raya humiliated the Dravok bloodline, the Council decided to act. They would make an example of Earth. On Earth, panic begins in the capital city of New Geneva. Sirens screamed across the skies. Civilians ran for shelters, shops closed. Military defense systems powered up for the first time in decades. Old orbital defense cannons aimed at the sky. Earth's president stood in the command center, face pale, voice shaking. How many ships? She asked. The defense chief replied, too many. Over 300 council warships, and more still arriving. The president stared at the screen. This is an extermination force, she whispered. Earth's fleet, small and outdated, didn't stand a chance. On Outpost 13, Raya watches from our foreign side, the command room of Outpost 13. Raya and Varric stood side by side, watching live feeds. The enemy fleet above Earth looked like a moving wall of death. Varric's voice stayed calm but serious. They're not here to negotiate. Raya's fists tightened. This is because of me. Varric shook his head. No, this is who they've always been. You just gave them an excuse. Raya's mind raced. She couldn't let her planet fall, not like this, not without a fight. The Council's broadcast suddenly Every communication screen on Earth and nearby space stations flickered to life. A shadowy alien figure appeared on every screen. Tall, thin, wearing ceremonial robes, its eyes black and cold. It was Warlord Zelka, the Council's war commander. His voice was deep and slow. People of Earth, surrender the girl named Raya. Deliver her to us within 24 hours, or watch your planet burn. The message ended. Panic turned to fear. Some human leaders whispered about handing Raya over to save themselves. Others knew better. But nobody knew where Raya was, except one person, inside Outpost 13. Raya stood up from her chair, her face cold, her eyes sharp like blades. I need to go back to Earth, she said. Varric looked at her. If you go, they'll target you and everyone around you. Raya nodded. She grabbed her gear, her blades, her rifle, her small drone patch floated beside her. Varric walked up to her and placed something in her hand. A small data chip. What's this? Raya asked. Varric smiled faintly. An old secret. If things go bad, use it. Before Raya could ask more, alarms rang again. Another fleet approaching, but this time, something was different. The secret weapon, the Silent Fist. Varric pulled up the new radar feed. Raya's eyes widened. A forgotten human warship, long buried under Mars, suddenly activated. A black stealth-class super dreadnought. The Silent Fist. Its massive guns came online. Old AI systems. REBOOTED. Target locks. Painted council ships. Raya whispered. Varric smiled. Let's just say, I made preparations. Earth's last stand begins. Council ships moved into attack formation. Their main cannons charged. Huge plasma beams fired down toward Earth's surface. But before the blasts could hit, the Silent Fist appeared from behind Mars and fired back. The sky lit up. 2 Council destroyers exploded. More followed. Humanity's last secret weapon had entered the fight. Raya's decision. Raya jumped into a fast interceptor ship. Her destination, Earth's surface. Her mission, protect civilians, lead ground defense. Her voice echoed in the ship's comlink. To all humans listening, stay strong, this isn't over. As her ship sped toward the burning planet below, Raya whispered to herself, they wanted me. Now they'll get me, but on my terms. Ending hook. As Raya's ship entered Earth's atmosphere, Dark Council landing pods also began dropping from the sky. Thousands of alien troops, descending fast. The ground war was about to begin. Earth's skies burned red. Council drop pods crashed into cities like falling meteors. Streets filled with fire, smoke, and panic. From the clouds above, massive Council warships floated like giants, blocking sunlight. Their plasma cannons destroyed entire buildings with each blast. People ran for shelter. Sirens screamed. But through the chaos, one ship cut through the fire like a bullet. Raya's interceptor. Inside, Raya sat focused at the controls. Her hands moved fast. Her breathing stayed calm. Her ship's radio was full of voices. Soldiers calling for help. Civilians crying, defense commanders shouting, but Raya had one goal, get to the Council landing zone. That's where the enemy leaders were, and that's where Lord Drex was too. On the ground, the battlefield near New Geneva's outer wall, hundreds of human soldiers tried to hold their line. They wore mismatched armor, old rifles, weak shields, but they fought with everything they had. Explosions shook the ground. Council armored, with glowing weapons, pushed forward, showing no mercy. Among them, leading the charge, was Lord Drex. His wounds from Outpost 13 had mostly healed, but a deep scar ran across his chest, a reminder of Raya's blades. Drex roared like a beast. Every step crushed the ground. His fists glowed with plasma energy. With each punch, he sent human tanks flying like toys. Where is she? Drex shouted in rage. His soldiers didn't answer, because just then, a small human fighter ship dropped from the sky and crashed into the battlefield. The ground exploded. Smoke covered everything. Council soldiers raised their weapons, expecting tanks or missile teams. But from the dust, only one figure walked out. Raya. Twin plasma blades glowing in her hands. Raya versus Drex. The rematch. The entire battlefield froze for a second. Drex stared at her. You should have stayed hidden, he growled. Raya stepped forward and let you destroy Earth. Never. Drex's soldiers started moving toward her, but Drex raised his hand. No, she's mine. The Council troops stepped back, forming a wide circle around them. Both warriors walked into the center. The crowd of soldiers, both human and alien, stopped fighting and watched. Everyone knew this was personal. The fight begins. Drex attacked first, a heavy swing from his plasma gauntlets, aimed straight for her head, but Raya ducked under it. She moved fast. She struck with her left blade, cutting across his leg, then twisted, using the right blade for a second slash to his side. Drex growled and grabbed a broken metal beam from the ground, swinging it like a club. Raya jumped over it, flipped midair and kicked him in the face. The crowd gasped. Drex stumbled back but stayed standing. He charged again, this time faster, angrier, stronger. His fists smashed into the ground, where Raya stood, but she had already moved. Raya rolled, sliced upward, leaving a deep burn across his shoulder. Blood sprayed. Drex screamed with rage. But turning point, Drex suddenly changed tactics. He activated both gauntlets at full power. Energy waves burst out. Pushing Raya back, Drex ran forward and tackled her, slamming her through a concrete wall. Dust and debris covered them both. For a second, everything went quiet. Some human soldiers thought Raya was done, but then, through the dust, Raya stood back up, her face bloody, her ribs hurting but her eyes burning with fire. No more running, she whispered. She charged, the final strikes with speed faster than Drex could react. Raya launched a series of brutal attacks, left blade, right blade, spin kick, elbow strike, then both blades plunged deep into Drex's chest. Drex froze, his eyes wide with shock. His plasma gauntlets powered down. His body fell to the ground with a heavy thud. The mighty Lord Drex, leader of the Dravic bloodline, defeated this time, permanently. A moment, silence. Then human soldiers started cheering. Alien council troops panicked. Some ran, some froze. Raya stood over Drex's body, breathing hard, blade still glowing. She looked up at the council warships in the sky. "This is our planet," she shouted. The human soldiers raised their weapons. A new wave of courage spread across Earth's defenders. New threat incoming. But just as Raya caught her breath, her communicator beeped. Varric's voice came through. "Raya, I don't want to scare you, but..." She wiped blood from her face. "But what?" she asked. Varric's voice dropped to a low whisper. "Council's flagship is moving, and their supreme commander, Warlord Zelkar, is coming down himself." Raya closed her eyes for a second, then opened them and smiled. "Good," she said. "Let him come." She picked up Drex's plasma gauntlets, strapped them to her arms, and walked toward the next battle.